On the Fringe with Dan radio style. Hope everybody out there's having themselves a great day. Well, we pretty sure we know who the man behind the curtain is, and this evil bastard is definitely him. All expected to speak during the DNC. We'll see. I'm not necessarily going to watch it live by any stretch of the imagination. First off, I don't want to add any numbers to them. But I will get plenty of snippets of stupidity that's going to be coming from there. But I honestly don't care. I know some of you guys might. Certainly, there'll be plenty of people out there talking about it. I don't care about the DNC. There's a lot of people that really want to focus on what the enemy's doing. And one of the problems I have with that, it's great and fun to know what they're trying to do. But for the most part, like for me, for example, that's really all I can speak for. I know what I'm supposed to be helping with. I know what I'm supposed to be focused on. I know what I'm supposed to be trying to help everybody and myself as well stay focused on. So we're all trying to move in a direction. We're trying to make sure we wake up. We're trying to get as much information as possible. But I'm not worried about the lies that they're telling. I'm not worried about all the BS that the Main Street media is saying. I don't care. I would spend almost all of my time constantly, essentially looking over my shoulder, worried about what they're doing, rather than focused on what we're doing. And so to my take on it, my understanding or my belief on how this all works together is it's far more powerful for us, me certainly, to stay focused on where we're going and heading rather than worried about what the miscreants are doing behind us, right? Like, I don't care. So we'll see how this plays out, and some of you guys may appreciate, some may not. I don't know. There's always different opinions, which is super fun. I like that. I love that about everything. I love the fact that people don't agree with everything. I think it makes it fun. Makes it a blast. So we'll see. We'll play through it. Should be a reasonably short show. We'll see, but it's what happens when I do one on Saturday is I eat up a bunch of the news for the weekend, usually slower news cycles on the weekends, not as many people working. So we'll get into it and get moving along. The key to monkeypox is knowing the K is silent, which is kind of funny. This was brought up yesterday in our $5 tier meeting on Saturday. We've got the $25 tier next week, Saturday. So if you guys want to be a part of that, you just have to go to onthefringe.locals.com. Make sure you're donating $25 or more a month. It's got to be the subscription. You can cancel anytime you want, but that's how I pull the data, is the active subscription, $25 or more, and you could be a part of it, and we broadcast that one, and this way we get to hear the community talk about what's going on in the world, so always good times to do that. Again, that's onthefringe.locals.com. Sometimes I put stuff out over there. I'll be honest, I don't post there as much as I should. But it is a place where I sometimes like to just talk to my real key audience, not necessarily the larger audience. So it's fun that way. So moneypox, as they are saying. And again, they're trying to put a lot of fear on this one, but there's 2 cases, I think, and been 1 death that they're attributing to this. It's ridiculously small, yet they're trying to make a lot of noise around it, which I think is interesting in and of its own right. Just in case you guys weren't paying attention, here's how Bidenomics works. So this is what we're in the middle of. This is, I'm sure, what Kamala is going to continue some form of. Well, hers is more hardcore communism, but Bidenomics. 1, you pay taxes. Lots of them, hopefully. 2, I send those tax dollars to the Ukraine. 3, they send it back to my son, Hunter. 4, Hunter gives it to me. That's Bidenomics in a nutshell. So there you go. That's what we're up against. That's what's happening, and that's why they don't want to let go. Cloward Piven strategy. I'm bringing this up for a reason. It'll make sense in a second. But the Cloward Piven strategy, it's a political strategy that was outlined in 1966 by American sociologist and political activist Richard Cloward and Francis Fox Piven. It is the strategy of forcing political change to societal collapse through orchestrated crisis. The Cloward-Piven strategy seeks to hasten the fall of capitalism by overloading the government bureaucracy with a flood of impossible demands, amassing massive unpayable national debt, and other methods such as unfettered immigration, thus pushing society into crisis and economic collapse. They are doing to us what they're doing on purpose. The, quote, Democrats are doing this to us on purpose. They are trying to bring down our capitalist system and replace it with a socialist communist system that they would then control each and every one of us forever. That is their plan. Now, anyone that's listening to my show right now that's like, damn, that's not their plan, because you're probably a Democrat. All right, I don't expect that you're going to see this, but that is what you're supporting right now. You may not like to call yourself a communist, but you're supporting communism. You're supporting the movement towards communism. You can call it what you like in your own mind, but frankly, you're supporting this communistic movement. Therefore, you support communism. It's just how it works. Don't have to like it. I don't personally care. It's how it's going to play out. General Flynn kind of explains to us how the intelligence community has bribed and blackmailed and essentially taken over control or power from many, many, many senators and congressmen all over the place, across the political spectrums too. First off, the type of people that tend to be attracted towards politics tend to be some of your most egocentric individuals on the planet, some of your most self-centered, service-to-self type people. And so those are also typically going to be some of the people that are going to gravitate towards some of the more illegal forms of entertainment. Let's call it that. And there's a number of different varieties of that. Well, this is kind of how they're very easily snatched up. And General Flynn does a really, really good job explaining this. I think he was on with the Hodge twins. Pretty good little 3-minute part of it here. Check it out.
And he already secured the wall.
Whoops, that's not it. Let's try that again. There we go.
What has happened is the intelligence community at the top level works to basically try to control who's ever in power. Right? Mm-hmm. So you got an elected official or a guy like me. So as a military officer, I'm going to be appointed into a job, and I'm only going to be there for a short period of time. A couple of, in my case, a couple of years. You're typically a commander or you're in a job for a couple of years. Well, these bureaucrats sit there and they go, okay, this guy thinks he's going to be a tough guy and he's going to come in here and do all these things. We'll just wait him out because we're going to be here for like 20 years, 25 years, 30 years. Bureaucrats now, right? And then you get these members of Congress and you get these members of the House or the Senate, and they're there for like 6 years, 12 years, 20 years. I mean, Joe Biden's 50 years.
Right.
So you get these people that they forget why they're there. Maybe when they were young and they were full of it, they were like, I'm going to go and I'm going to save the world, right? And then they get there and somebody goes, okay, I can take care. What's your house payment? Mm-hmm. You got a house here? Don't worry about it. We'll take care of you. What's your house payment? You're from what state? Florida or Nevada? I'll take care of that. Don't worry about it. You got kids going to school? In fact, we know you got 3 kids in school, 2 kids in college, or 1 kid getting ready to go. We'll take care of that. You want to, I see that you like boating. These are the kinds of things that happen. Okay? And that's the corruption, the extortion in many cases, right? And these people, they take it. They absolutely take it. There's very few, probably, maybe this many senators, okay? The fingers on my hand, maybe. And I that's really highballing it to say that there's 5 senators, U.S. senators, that are not compromised, okay? Members of the House, there's very, very few members of the House that aren't compromised. Compromise being either you've done something like I just described and you accepted it, or you got caught doing some other weird stuff, right? Like you got caught doing some hanky-panky.
He got caught banging a tranny behind the
whatever.
Congress.
Right?
Yeah.
So
Sorry about that.
No, I'm like, say what?
Nobody wants that to get out.
No, oh my God. But that's the kind of,
right.
They go overseas. So members of the House and members of the Senate, they go on these delegations overseas, okay? And these people overseas are smart. And they get them, and they check you out. They study you before you come over. And they know you like Manhattans, right? Or they know you like a little bit of extra whiskey in your drink or whatever it is. You like this stuff. Or they find out that you got an extramarital affair going on back home and you've been married to some same woman maybe for 25 years or whatever, and you got a little extramarital thing going on, and she's like 19, 18, 17 back home. And so they present that kind of thing to you while you're overseas, okay? And they nail you.
Yep. They nail you. Typically while you're trying to get nailed yourself. This is how so many of these people have been corrupted. And then when you look at all the agencies, the fact that they're controlled by the deep state and have been, and they decide who they're going to attack based off of who steps out of line. See, these IRS, for example, can be turned against anybody. But generally, they don't turn them against the criminals unless the criminals stop following the rules. There's a very, very distinct set of rules on the dark side of the world. Unfortunately, a lot of people are starting to break free from that. And they're also starting to lose power to control it, and people are starting to step away because they don't think that they're going to get caught now. A lot of strange things. Elon Musk posted this. He goes, inflation is caused by federal government spending more than it earns because they just print more money and make up the difference. We've talked about this. This response is excellent. So Elon Musk says, to solve inflation, reduce wasteful government spending, your tax dollars should be spent well, not poorly. And 987 report says, to solve the inflation problem, we just need to kick the European Reserve bankers to the curb and go back to promissory notes. Remember, South African promissory notes, Elon? Lots of inflation over there since the South African Reserve Bank was created. Not so distant truth. And they're right. This needs to happen. How this plays out, how big of a bang this is against us, how long the pain period lasts, there's a lot of factors that come into play on this. We were talking about this yesterday in our little community show, and some just say, this is going to be really bad. Really bad. And it might. I'm certainly one of the people that believes until something happens, we've still got the ability to change, grow, learn, whatever, call it what you want. But there's a huge number of people that just refuse to wake up. So that's also why I always couch things with, if your heart's in the right place, if you've been kind of activated, if you've been involved in the world in a proper manner, trying to help people, trying to do good, trying to do right by God, whatever your kind of approach is, then you're most likely in an okay place. I don't mean physically per se, but it could be. I don't mean monetarily per se, but it can be. But it might be neighbors around, it might be friends you've made, it just might be whatever, happenstance. But because of the goodness that you've done, you'll be fine. And this won't affect you the same way it will everyone else. For those that have a lot of dark on their heart, this is going to be painful. For people that are very egocentric, this is going to be painful. It is going to cause a lot of people to face the demons inside themselves. And they're not going to like it. For those of us that have been working on the demons inside ourselves for years, there's not as much that you're going to have to face. In fact, you're probably very much more involved in the outcome and the process of this and trying to help you others if you've sort of unburdened yourself from a lot of that crap. So we have some things that have to happen. They have to. We know the system's coming down at some point. We don't know when. We don't know where. We do pretty much figure that we're kind of in control right now as far as like the good guys. So most likely this is going to come down. At least it makes the most sense. It's going to come down in a way, one, that's likely close to the election because it will affect election day. Possibly it might even be a thing that keeps us from having elections. But it will also, I think, it's going to look bad on the deep state. The cabal needs to have egg on its face going into this election. Trump needs to be able to help us get out of this mess. He's been involved in 2 huge bankruptcies in his life, corporate bankruptcies. He's definitely the best man that's qualified to help the United States through this process. So again, how this plays out, how we experience it, it's kind of going to be different for everybody. I'm going to say, if you've still got money in their system, I don't think it's a good idea to leave it there. Just saying. I can't guarantee when things are going to get crappy, I can't guarantee anything except what I can guarantee is inflation is actually happening. It's still happening, and it's taking a giant bite out of your wealth. You're attached to dollars and stocks. Both of those things right now are performing poorly from the standpoint of the value of what you can purchase with that. Say you've got $50,000 in stocks, and say a year ago it was still roughly $50,000 in stocks, right? You've kind of been flat this year, maybe a little bit up. What that really means is your buying power's dipped down. The prices of everything have gone up significantly over the last year, so you're still sitting at $50,000. You've lost buying power. Essentially, you haven't lost money, but you've lost buying power. Precious metals haven't done that. Precious metals are actually up. Precious metals are actually kind of huge. I feel like I'm referring to myself in the third person. Like my name's Precious Metals. Let's see what the prices are right now, by the way. So right now we're looking at over 2,500. It broke 2,500 gold. And silver's up over 29. Huge numbers. And it's still going up. So what that means is the price has gone up more than what inflation would say the price should be, which essentially means you've gained buying power, literally making wealth on this. One of the guys that was in the community group, he got in this back when it was 1,700. And I said, I bet your portfolio is looking pretty sweet. And he was just nodding. It is. He was at 1,700 in March of this year. And right now, gold's sitting at 2,500. That's a huge difference. Now, again, the fact that the price is going up on gold tells you something. Yes, one, the movement. Two, it's telling you can't wait any longer. Your dollars that are reasonably flat are staying reasonably flat while the price of gold's going up because of inflation. Get out transfer now. Get out of their system, dollar stocks, and get into as much precious metal as you can right now, and then ride the rest of this storm out. That's some of the best advice I can give you. If you have a lot of questions, I would ask you to actually ask my good friends at Goldco. Just 4 data points. Go to drslikesgold.com. drslikesgold.com. 4 data points, your name, your email, and your phone number. They're going to get in touch with you. And again, if you've actually got a qualified 401k or IRA and you fill out this form here, you'll potentially qualify for this free half-ounce collector's coin and potentially some free silver. There's a number of things. If you're buying gold with cash, certainly a chance for some free silver. I think they've got some very interesting deals. Get your gold kit. Get your protection, your wealth kit. Go to drslikesgold.com. drslikesgold.com. We don't know for sure if when things are going to happen. Reasonably sure they're going to. We don't know for sure. What we do know for sure is inflation is destroying your wealth every single day, and the price of gold and silver are not going down. Waiting is definitely not a good idea. Something I want you to think about. I want you to talk with your loved ones, but right now it's performing exceptionally well. It was at 1,700 in March. It's now at 2,500. That is 800 increase. That's a huge increase. Your stocks aren't doing that. The value of your home's not necessarily doing that. And again, depending on how you do that, over 30 years, it makes a lot of sense. Over 40 years, it makes a lot of sense. Over even 20 years, it does. But buying a house with cash, bad idea. But there's other good investments, by the way. Tools, Second Amendment stuff. Like there's a lot of things. Water, food. There's just whatever. I know some people are living paycheck to paycheck. I get that. If you can squirrel away $10 aside here and there, or buy one coin somewhere. Go to a pawn shop and see if you can get one silver coin. Take that home with you, right? Maybe you do that a few times, and eventually you're actually going to be like, I got something. Not a lot, but something. And something is always better than nothing. drslikesgold.com. drslikesgold.com. Get out of their system before they get out of you. And that is exactly what they're trying to do. They want us broke and eating bugs. It's not acceptable. Not even close. All right, we've got some stuff around the cabal. Let's see. This is... Again, never going to hear I told you so. Never going to hear you were right. Just none of that shit's ever going to happen, guys, ever, okay? I was awake back at this point of my life. And a lot of us weren't. I'm not trying to slam anybody. It is not an insult that you weren't awake. It wasn't your fault. This is happening kind of with God's help. So each one of us is waking at our own perfect time, okay? Some of us came here awake. I don't know why. I have no idea. Well, I mean, I have ideas, but whatever. This stuff was happening right in front of us. We believed him. 9/11 then happened later. We believed him. Rumsfeld tells us the day before we've lost $2 trillion. We don't do anything about it. Still, to this day, we're losing money like that. Nothing's changed. This is, 30 years now? 90s, right? Isn't it back when Georgie was there? Needless to say, it's right in front of us. What their plan's been all along. Shit, I've been talking about the 1,000 points of light and the cabal and the New Deal, New World Order, all that shit for 30 years because of this dude.
Crisis in the Persian Gulf, as grave as it is, also offers a rare opportunity to move toward an historic period of cooperation. Out of these troubled times, our fifth objective, a new world order, can emerge. A new era is more than one small country. It is a big idea, a new world order where diverse nations are drawn together in common cause to achieve the universal aspirations of mankind, peace and security, freedom, and the rule of law.
Anyone surprised you didn't use the word democracy? I think it was still a little too early for that one. They've been saying all along, folks. They've not been trying to hide it, and they can't, for that matter. It's a spiritual law. They have to. They got to tell us what they're doing. They hide it in typically fiction, works of fiction, and so we see it as such. 1984 is a great example. People, a lot now, I think today, are actually looking at that book and going, holy crap, like literally they said it right to us. Dude, the Georgia Guidestones existed. Now, again, someone made a good point. I forget who it was. Might have been Simon Parks. Might have been. And he's actually somebody I think is interesting, worth listening to. Don't put him up on a pedestal or anything like that, but good guy. He's got some good advice that he's trying to share with people too. He definitely feels like he's from my same family, if you will. But we are trying to wake people up. We are trying to get people to understand that there's been this cabal against us. And if they were still in power, the Georgia Guidestones probably would have been rebuilt. And they weren't. You guys remember when they were blown up, right? Very interesting how that happened. We saw someone running away. They never caught him. We definitely know somebody did it. But they've not been rebuilt. This is one of the things we know that suggests we are actually winning. But again, this is a battle. This is hardcore. We're heading into probably the hardest part of it. Hopefully that ends November 5th. My guess is it's going to bleed longer than that, but I don't think a whole lot longer. But I think it will. I don't know. We'll see. Right now, that's what it feels like. I'm going to say as we get closer, I'm constantly reassessing how that feels. The Planned Parenthood of Great Rivers is going to offer free medication, abortions, and vasectomies. Their first 2 days of the Democratic National Convention. They're literally going to have some mobile truck down in front of the DNC offering abortions, basically, and vasectomies. Just in case, while you're in town, you want to knock out an abortion or get your testes shut down, turned off, disconnected, whatever. Yuck, by the way, but So we got a lot of rumors are out there about Kamala having a serious drinking problem. I don't know if this is true or not. This is James Blair that put this out. Normally this would be like a Paul Sperry thing, I feel like, but there's many people saying she's got a drinking problem. Apparently it comes into focus as the campaign heats up. That's going to be true if she has to spend any length of time like on the road and doing a lot of talks in front of people. And and she got a little bit of a drink problem. Yeah, this will be a challenge. This will definitely be a challenge. Tough. We'll see. Should be interesting. Now again, Harris's campaign co-chair Gretchen Whitmer's saying that these driver's license free college and all the crap that Tim Walz has done is fantastic. Again, this is the communists, all of them. This is the whole group of cabal people are out in force supporting where we're at. And then the NBC News playing it. This is serving a purpose, guys, a much larger purpose. And it's just important for us to recognize it. It's important for us to be able to ripple some of the facts from these crazy sources. It's just part of the journey, guys.
Well, let me ask you about her running mate, Tim Walz, and particularly on the issue of immigration. Obviously, some of his policies in his state have come into focus. He signed into law initiatives allowing undocumented immigrants to apply for driver's licenses, free tuition at public universities, and enroll in the state's free health care program for low-income residents. Would you like to see the Harris administration adopt those same policies, Governor?
Well, I can tell you, Tim Walz is a pragmatic guy. He's a Midwesterner just like me, and I think some of the wonderful things he's done in Minnesota resonate with, Americans in all states.
Yeah, and here's the thing, too. Like, they're giving all this stuff away to people that aren't actually citizens. It'd be one thing if we were feeding our citizens with this, right? Helping them go to college, helping them get food, helping them get homes, right? But we're not. We're giving people that are here illegally, criminally. They're here criminally, and we're giving them gifts for it. Now, they think that this is a pragmatic policy that's going to resonate with Americans. No, it actually doesn't. The only people it resonates with are either the ultra-progressive who really want to see the downfall of this country, or people that aren't here legally. People that are immigrants legally, we'll start there, like my girlfriend, for example. They definitely don't like this. Now, people in some of the lower income communities, been hearing, not trying to pick people out, but some of the Hispanic and black parts of our country and some of the poorer areas specifically are like, where's our stuff? I had that one video on earlier, the lady that worked her ass off, worked overtime so she could save up money to buy her first food truck. And when she's turning around and selling a food truck, an illegal, undocumented person is going to buy it. And he's presenting her with documentation showing the government's going to give him money so he can buy her truck. And she's like, where was that when I was trying to get my truck? Again, all these people that want equality of outcome, which is insanity. But even for all those crazy people, how can you be okay with the illegals getting stuff? They're not even citizens here. So that's disparaging the old equality of outcome, by the way, and it's certainly lowering the bar of what outcome should be. Now, granted, they're still going to try to justify from anybody that actually works hard or has multiple jobs or has been successful at something and started to finally maybe make more money than they did when they were younger. They want to be able to take away from those people, the hard workers, right? And feed it back to government workers? 100% of government wages are paid by normal everybody that's making money in government is getting paid by tax money. Those of us that work in the private industry, entire amount of our tax money goes back towards helping the government and everything else. People that work in government, sure, they pay taxes on their income, but their entire salary was paid by taxpayer money, and now they're getting double taxed and paying back into it. So, sure, we're getting some of that money back, I guess. And again, taxes are illegal. Don't even get me started there. But all of this is just crazy. And people are waking up. As much as the media makes it sound like they're not. The deep state cabal makes it sound like Kamala's awesome. All of her polls are up. She's up in almost every poll. They always say in almost every poll, too, by the way, because any of the legit polls don't agree. But all the bullshit polls do. Your ABCs, your NBCs, your Meta polls, like a lot of stupid polls out there that are claiming all sorts of crazy numbers. And then a lot of people believe it. Both sides of the fence. It's kind of weird. So there's this weird thing that's happening right now with the Kamala Harris campaign, and it's this whole idea of bringing joy back to the country. Joy. Interesting word choice for that matter. Knew a girl named Joy. I feel like I always teased her. I'm like, that's a lot to live up to, right? Like, that's a tough name to have. Name's Joy, and you got to you're having a shitty day and your name's Joy. Like, how does that work? People are going to give you trouble for it, right? Like, why are you so grumpy, Joy? Seems strange. It's a lot of stress. That's when you go by Joyce, maybe. It's Joyce, damn it. Oh, my bad. By the way, German for strength through joy is this whatever. I'm not going to try to pronounce this German stuff because I can't. I know how to cuss a little bit in German. That's it. Was German SDA? It was the NSDAP operated leisure organization in Nazi Germany. It was part of the German Labor Front. So this whole joy thing was, I think, part of their brown shirts, essentially, back in the day. Now, interestingly, we've got the Harris campaign doing all this joy stuff. So the New York Times, Harris used to worry about laughing, now joy. is fueling her campaign. Vanity Fair, ticket wields joy against Donald Trump. Bring back the joy, says Salon. Washington Post, Harrison Waltz sees on joyful message in contrast to darker Trump. Like, this is what they're doing. And it's propaganda, yeah, but it's obvious, right? Like, it's almost comical at this, to me it is, and I think to anyone that's even partially awake, it's extraordinarily comical. Man who says he accompanied Waltz on a trip in China calls VP candidate the Maoist to the core. A former student told Alpha News that he submitted a report with the House Oversight Committee and spoke to staffer Rep. James Comer about all of this. But he says he joined Tim Waltz on a trip to communist China and is speaking out about his experiences of traveling to that country with the future vice president candidate. He says it was almost a daily revelation of how much he adores the communist regime. For over a decade, Tim Walz traveled to and from China, first arriving in the country in 1989. Walz taught a high school in partnership with a nonprofit program affiliated with Harvard University, of course. During this trip, Walz was visiting Hong Kong when the Tiananmen Square protests began in April. Those protests ended in June when the communist government massacred protesters on June 3rd and 4th in 1989. There was no doubt he was a true believer, Shad said. I've been trying to tell people this for 30 years. Nobody wanted to listen. At night, we'd go out, we'd walk the street fairs. We'd be buying souvenirs, and Tim was always buying the little red book. He said he gave them as gifts. I saw him buy at least a dozen on the trip. This is what the dude's doing. Running around buying little red book, and giving that to everybody. Communism. This is what they've been trying to do for a long time. Great image that someone created. Donald Trump truthed this or posted this, I guess. 8/18, so yeah, that would have been today. So yeah, communist America is what Kamala wants. Everybody, I mean, she picked Tim. That was the most communist person she could do. She was the most progressive senator ever, most progressive voting record. Feds are still sending mad scientists millions of dollars in China. We're still doing it. We're still sending them money to do weaponizing type things or extremely dangerous research into bugs and all sorts of other stuff. This particular firm, Wu-Ji App Tech, has an even broader relationship with Washington. Apparently, it's $6.5 million to this Chinese biotech firm for perilous research on deadly diseases. They're still spending our money. How many millions of dollars are going to all these crazy places, including Ukraine as well? How many deep state groups are we funding? How many weapons are we making that are being used against us or designed against us? How many of those are we paying with our taxpayer money? The inflation problem we have is so extreme. Like the amount of stuff we've got going on in our government, the amount of places that we're feeding money off to places that don't deserve it and is probably abusing it is extraordinary. Extraordinary. I'd be willing to bet well over $1 trillion in just bullshit money being given away, right? I'm not even talking about legitimate money that we can go in and probably, FBI, thin that down a bunch, right? Fire a whole crap ton of people. Like there's a bunch of organizations, IRS, right? And these are costing us crap tons of money. And many would say, Dan, if you get rid of taxes, how are you gonna pay for things? First off, taxes pay, I don't know what it is, but it's like our taxpayer money is not 100% of what pays all the bills. Like it's surprisingly lower than that. It tripped me out. I think it was like 75% or something, but tariffs and stuff is what we used to do. It's a strong way to go. There's a lot of things that can be done just talking about that. And there's certain other kinds of, I don't know, fees and stuff. Who knows? But the fact is, like, income tax is not legal. We should be able to keep our income. We'll see. A lot of things. We got to get the deep state out. Deep state came in with central bank. That's when the IRS was created. That's when the FBI was created. That's when a couple other crazy agencies were created. So all of this has been tied together from day one. That's why the FBI doesn't do anything good for the United States as a general rule, because it's a deep state organization that's designed to police against us. Like it's designed to do that, to protect the elite and to keep us in check. and blame shit on us if we get too far out of line. So there you go. Huge amount of money. So imagine campaigning on the promise of fixing the problems you and your political party created. And that's what they're doing. They keep talking about fixing the border. You've had 4 years. In fact, the border was mostly fixed, almost completely fixed, and the plan was to have it fixed within 3 months. You guys stopped the construction on the wall. You immediately allowed as many people in as possible, and then you say you're going to fix it. You have caused this. Now, it goes back to that thing we shared at the beginning, creating a catastrophe that the government can't handle. They did it on purpose. All of this is on purpose. Again, there's a lot of people that are asleep. I think that number dwindles every single day, and I think it dwindles quickly every day. Some of the crazy crap going on in the world, the USS Lincoln has left the Pacific Ocean and is now going to be the first time since the Trump administration, January 2021, that there are not 4 U.S. carrier groups in the Pacific. Kind of interesting. This individual has been tracking the position of the carrier group since January of 2021, initially as a Q-proof and then as Devo-proof as well. Devolution is what he's referring to, and Just Humans very involved with Badlands and all those guys, so very cool. But all said, yeah, there's something to be said about that. And again, who's actually in charge, who's actually commander-in-chief? Again, Devolution talks about that. So it is interesting that we are removing one of the carriers from the Pacific theater. Very interesting. Also, some new information coming out around the Ukrainian stuff. Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko, he said on Sunday that Ukraine has stationed more than 120,000 troops at its border with Belarus, and that Minsk has sent military formations along its entire border in response. The potential escalation is upon us. They're talking about hitting Zaporozhye. There's already been some damage caused over there and potential problems. And we had another nuclear site, I believe, that was out in the eastern part of Ukraine that was also, I think, being attacked. So there's some crazy stuff going on right now. And they want this to spin out of control. I don't know if next week is the week they want it to happen. It would kind of, in a weird way, make sense with DNC happening, right? Because that's probably going to be a shit show. Probably not going to be nearly as big a deal as they need it to be. Plus the fact that obviously people in the Democrat Party realize your vote doesn't mean shit. Doesn't mean shit. It's funny. You guys voted in the primary. You voted for Biden. Biden's who you wanted, supposedly, and they just took him away from you. Now, again, was that the right choice? Maybe, but y'all probably should have voted on it, shouldn't you have? I don't know. They keep talking about democracy. It's the party of democracy, yet they don't give a fuck what you voted on at all. That's what's funny. That's what's funny. So many of these guys have democracy. It's like your party doesn't even care what you think. And you're running around spouting off about democracy. Huh? Do you even know what that means? It's insanity. I want to remind you guys of our Truth Threads. Got some great products. We've got some supposed to be updating the site. I kind of intentionally waited till today to talk about it. It's still not updated, but I guess that's coming. We've got some additional shirts for the shooter coming. So those should be up probably today or tomorrow at the latest. But truththread.shop, truththread.shop. We've got some more versions, too, of the OTF Army of Enlightenment or the Great Awakening shirts, or basically my station shirt specifically. We're going to be putting those on T-shirts, tank tops, so she's got a whole bunch of stuff she's adding picture-wise for that, so we're going to have some more shirts for my channel specifically that will be offered up. And then we've got some more Truth Movement stuff that's always got the OTF on the side, right? One of the ways we make sure I talk about it. But it is the Truth Movement. So we got the 5G warfare thing, which is still a very big deal. Ripples is why I call you guys Ripple makers, right? And a lot of it's through that 5G component. And on top of that, we've also got the shooter one coming out. So some very interesting stuff. I think the Ephesians things, it's pretty cool. The shirts are very, very cool. So those should be coming here very, very soon. So make sure you're one of the first people to get a hold of those. Also, we want to get you guys to send us pictures so we can kind of use that to help promo this stuff as well. And it does, again, remind me I need to make the video that I keep saying I'm going to make and I haven't made yet. It's coming. I got enough pictures to do it. Anyway, truththread.shop, truththread.shop. You're going to be helping out the channel, helping out a family, and helping out the world all at the same time. Kind of feels good. Truththread.shop. Be a part of the change. All right. This is just something I wanted to share. It popped up in my feed, and it seems important to keep in mind. And I'm not saying more for sure. I don't know more for sure, but this does seem interesting. We'll cover it quickly, reasonably quickly. So this is a couple different posts that ended up on the, I think 4chan and possibly Q boards. I don't know. I can't tell with the way this is chopped. But so this one's picture was leaked for this very moment. Who, what is not pictured? What forces shadowed no name? Contractors, special contractors. What was delivered? Smiles? Exact location? Exact. Said building E of spiderweb. Spiderweb marker. Open source. And keep those things in mind. I know it's so cryptic the way they write it. But exact location, what was being delivered, very key things. This is the fact that McCain, no name, was involved directly in this stuff. But not just him. Other deep state members too. So spiderweb is going to be a key to all this as well. Now here's the photo that's infamous. And this made a big deal at the time. And this was just prior to him getting his wrinkled flag burial. There's John McCain with ISIS leaders and all sorts of terrorists, literally hanging out with terrorists. Picture of him. And they even made a comment in here. We love phones. Should have known better. No name should have known better. Because he had a phone with him, they knew exactly where he was. And they got this picture with bad people. Who are the bad people? Well, the first guy, I'm going to mess their names up, and so what? We'll deal with it. But Abu Mossa, he's the ISIS press officer. Best of my knowledge, he's still alive. Then you've got Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, head of ISIS. Trump killed him. He's dead now. You've also got Senator John McCain. He's also not alive anymore. Many have suggested he was removed as well. Muhammad Noor, he's a Syrian terrorist. I couldn't find any stuff on him. Maybe it's just because of a strange name or the way it's spelled. Muhammad might be spelled correctly. I tried it both ways and didn't find anything on him. And then I didn't even bother with Muaz Mustafa because I just got frustrated with the friggin' crazy-ass names anyway at that point. Don't know about him either, but he was SETF. He was a Syrian Emergency Task Force. These are essentially known terrorists that McCain was hanging out with. That the cabal was feeding stuff via the spider web. Here's the spider web. Weapons. Guy's holding a rocket launcher here. Now, it looks Russian, but they're still selling weapons. They're putting weapons into terrorists' hands. Now, what's also interesting is the inside of this particular bunker thingy or box or whatever the hell this is USAID. USAID was directly involved in this whole money laundering, weapons movement, deep state, illegal thing that was happening all along, that John McCain was directly involved with. It seems. Al-Baghdadi is in a meeting here with McCain. So again, he's meeting with these same people that were in the photo. Meeting with terrorists. And then helping them get weapons, it seems. So, this post here. Why did Hussein protect ISIS? Remember, Trump got rid of ISIS in very little time. Hussein was there for 8 years. Said it couldn't be done. In fact, he was in charge of the strikes. He took away the ability for generals to do what they needed to do. Trump actually put that power back in their hands and said, I want them finished. You have permission to go. Go and go. Not Hussein. So POTUS, ISIS, focused and destroyed all of ISIS in 1 year. Hussein, he had 8 years, never happened. Versus George W. Bush, he had 8 years, never happened. Or gained strength. So DC access, sold out. And what they say, bring back the gallows. Now, again, this is where things like what happened with McCain, which is straight up treason. I think that's the proper outcome. I really do. If you've definitely sworn an oath And I don't just mean like maybe as a military officer, but I mean as a military officer, and then you've built this entire thing. Like, he was supposedly a prisoner of war. That's probably not how that really played out, is it? Maybe it was, but for whatever the case was, he became the uber deep state dark guy. Post 1764 also reminds us, think FISA, think no name, McCain. White House visitor logs, McCain with Hussein. What dates? White House visitor logs, McCain with Brennan and Hussein. What are the dates? White House visitor logs, McCain, Brennan, Comey, and Hussein. What are the dates? White House visitor logs, McCain, Brennan, Clapper, Rice, and Hussein. What are the dates? See, these things, there's record of this stuff. There's record of who was meeting, and probably some knowledge into why they were meeting. Now, this was posted, and I think this is important to keep in mind as well. The elite, in reality, are a small group of evil bastards. Had it been deemed necessary, they could have been eliminated with extreme ease, given the excellence of the boys on our team. As you've been told, the choice was made to let it simmer. The people who made this choice have access to intel that you do not, and are not very capable individuals that love you. They are very capable individuals that love you, and above all else, love all beings in this universe. I don't know, pretty strong statement, whatever. If you're paying attention, you should easily realize that the mockingbird is being systematically dethroned. This was necessary. When we do what has to be done, everyone will agree. And this has all been around, and I'll honestly say I think I've been directly involved in this. It all has to come down to getting the populace's energy and attention up to the right place where this can happen. And that's basically acknowledging as a population that we've been lied to, that there has been a cabal, that they're literally trying to do this damage to us on purpose, and that we need to choose to get away from that. We need to take back our freedom and take back our country and build what can be the amazing dream that America was always supposed to be, and make America far greater than it ever was. Far greater. And that's one of the great things about this country. We've had our ups and downs for sure. We've done some pretty shitty things, and we've done some amazing things. And we're going to do even more amazing things. But this part of the process of people waking up and coming to this reality and coming to the understanding is extraordinarily important. If they would have pushed this too soon, there would have been riots on the street. We would have had an actual physical civil war. Would we have won? Yes, but it would have been horrendous. It wasn't worth it. Let it simmer. It's all right. We're in control for the most part. And we're going to steer things in the direction they need to go, but we need people to see what they're doing and see that they can be stopped. It's empowering. And that's what we're trying to do. Empower everybody. Certainly you guys, but everybody else. Through you guys, I hope. And we're doing an admirable job. Got a magnitude 7.0 earthquake off the coast of Russia, off its eastern coast for that matter. Forget the name of the area. It's got a cool name. But anywho, they were worried about a tsunami warning. I don't think anything hit or any sort of significant tsunami. It was a pretty big quake, though. That's for sure. Interesting. Just a lot of quakes happening right now. Had some very interesting solar storms. What's funny, we had a small storm. It was a CME, and it hit us, I want to say, late yesterday or something like that. This early morning, my buddy Ben was showing and talking about it. What's really, really strange, though, is this very weak storm hit us. And there was nothing, when you looked at the numbers, it was not a very big storm. It was a weak storm. And it caused like a level 5 storm, like a way bigger storm than it should have been. Level 5 is nothing huge, not that big a deal, like moderate issues at best. But level 7, level 8, when you start getting into that range, you're talking about some outages, you're talking some power issues maybe in some places, potential satellite problems in some places. If they'd recently just launched any sort of SpaceX or Starlink stuff, that actually would be at risk. Because what happens when these storms hit is it causes the atmosphere to kind of gets a little bigger, And so anything in real low Earth orbit can actually have the atmosphere come up to it, and it causes drag. It slows it down. It brings it back to Earth. It causes a lot of problems from that standpoint. So we've got a weird thing going on with the magnetic field. They've stopped reporting how the poles are shifting, and they're moving many kilometers a year right now. And it seems to be picking up, but we don't have fresh data. They won't share it anymore. It's been actually a little while since they've given us fresh data. But what we are seeing is the aurora borealis coming way further south, and we're seeing really small, real small coronal mass ejections cause very severe storms. Something's up. So we've got a lot of things that are happening right now on the planet. This is a very significant time in the history of this planet. Deep State wanted to take control. They were going to go down in the bunkers. They were going to take about 500 million of us with them, and they were going to let the rest of us fry on the earth and fight over whatever was left afterwards. Mad Max. That was their plan. It was exactly what they were going to do. Exactly. They told us. But that's not actually the only outcome. Believe it or not, folks, if we actually can get the control and then get people to take ownership of this planet and ownership of our realities and all that, we can actually, I think, avert this or protect ourselves. And that's, I think, what the big plan is. Sounds crazy right now, but believe me, in a few years, it won't sound so crazy. Again, like the same point was made here, and people thinking about the military taking over, right? When we do what has to be done, everyone will agree. Well, when we get to the point where we realize how things are and how much control we have over that, then it will make more sense when we start doing like global meditations and things like that. A lot of crazy stuff's going to happen, but it'll actually make a huge difference. So again, we've got to get through this initial pain point, and then we will we'll figure it out. So not far away. A lot of change is coming, folks. It's going to be exciting. Here's an example of an earthquake, I guess, that happened in California. This is a huge jolt. I've been through a few quakes. This one would have freaked me out. But a giant jolt, and then not much of an earthquake outside of it, but a huge jolt. Freaks this chick out. Check it out. I think we have one more. Yeah, here it is. Yeah, that's that first big spike. I've talked to you guys about that. And that phew. Normally there's a little something right before it, but that jolt, man, the jolt's the part that's what does a lot of the damage, and it's freaking scary as hell. That's where earthquakes are like, yeah, we were fine once we got through that. Then they'll keep shaking, and you're like, how long's this going to go? But you're already like through the worst of it, and you kind of know it, but it's so loud. So wild. They're very wild. I mean, I know, I've heard tornadoes are kind of like that. I hear they make a lot of noise. I know being swarmed by bees makes a shit ton of noise. I've been there before. That's fun. That's good times. I'll never forget that noise. Finally, I don't know, some more stupid UFO stuff. I really think they're trying to do this controlled release. What do they call it? I forget the phrase they use. Where they basically are releasing information that's probably not even accurate because they're trying to essentially get people to believe in stuff that they can try to take advantage of, like more manipulation of us because so many of us want to believe that there's UFOs, that they actually use crap ones because they want to push something. This, I don't know if it's drones. A lot of people saw in California. I saw there was a second video that totally looked like drones because they all just come straight down in formation. I'm like, that looks like a bunch of drones. And they're trying to say, no, it doesn't look like drones. I'm like, that looks exactly like drones. I'm not saying it is. It just looked exactly like drones. That's all. But this, I don't know. But people reported seeing this all over the place, which is interesting.
Last night, Southern California witnessed an extraordinary mass UFO sighting. Hundreds of people in Palmdale and Lancaster reported seeing multiple unidentified flying objects, causing widespread amazement and unease. At around 9:30 p.m., residents observed 6 strange objects moving in unison. Witnesses described these UFOs as giving off an odd glow and moving in ways that seem impossible, stopping suddenly in midair, changing direction in an instant, and flying in erratic patterns at incredible speeds. Local police are inundated with reports. Air traffic controllers state there were no scheduled flights in the area when this happened. So far, the military has not commented on the incident. As morning arrives, many questions remain unanswered. What exactly were these objects? Why did they appear? Will they come back? Keep watching Above the Norm News for more on this.
I do think it's interesting that the colors that they were showing of these happen to be kind of flashing between red, blue, and yellow. And it's just interesting because red and blue are very, very, like, obviously cop, right? Like, it's very cop-esque. It seems like that would be a weird way for any sort of higher intelligence to communicate with us. But what it does seem like is something that's very common to this planet and meant to distract. That's why they use those colors. It actually psychologically F's with you. That's why they do it. So those colors being chose, this to me feels very, very deep state. Very deep state. This is one of the other things that we're trying to stay mindful of is them, one, trying to use the voice of God like that because they can project stuff into our heads, supposedly. So just be mindful of that. If all of a sudden God starts talking to you, and that's not a normal thing, let's say that. Some people spend more time talking to God than others, so it's not uncommon to have a little bit of a God moment, right? But yeah, if all of a sudden you're hearing voices when you normally wouldn't, be mindful. That's probably not okay. So just be careful. Don't go do what it says necessarily. Like, I don't know, just second guess it. I'm not trying to say it's right. I'm not trying to say it's wrong, because I know there's a lot of people that believe like that God probably just gonna talk to us. But that's the thing is, deep states tried to teach us that so they could utilize this potentiality against us. Also, the UFOs that probably do exist in real life are not the ones that the deep state's trying to use to control us once again. So this is one of the few, the fake alien invasion or whatever is one of the other few things that we've wondered about, and it was one of the cards that they possibly wanted to play or were going to play. So it's one of those ones that we need to be mindful of. And I think a lot of the disclosure stuff that's happening right now is not legit. It's kind of why I generally ignore it. Like, there's 2 shows in a row where I'm talking about it because I think it's funny that it's becoming a big, big, big deal all over the place. And these, like I said, a lot of the stuff I've dealt with, it'd be weird to see them flashing these colored lights. That's all I can say. I just don't think the people I've worked with would have come at us that way. It's just a weird way to do that. All said, we'll see. This is going to be an interesting time in history, folks. I hope I can do the best I can to help you guys through this, and that's really what I'm trying to do. And I amazingly hope that you guys can help other people's lives too. This is going to be critical. And as I've said before, I am a teacher of teachers. I have been for, since I was very young. Since I was 17, been consciously teaching people. So we are a long ways into this, and we are doing very well. Deep State's still making a lot of noise. Got to trust that inner spark inside of you. Got to trust those feelings inside of you. You got to trust that desire and push inside of you. Because right now we need all of us operating in the best ways that we can during this procedure, this process. Each one of us has a role to fill. Each one of us has a job, if you will. And it's important for us to find that job. And you'll know it because it'll feel really good when you're doing it. It'll feel really good when you're doing it. You'll be stoked that you're involved. Your whole outlook on this process will change because of your involvement. And the rest of us will experience the benefit of your involvement. It's powerful times, folks. I love you. I'm here with you every step of the way. Where we go one, we go all. It's On the Fringe with Dan Radio Style.